Hey, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Yogi. We are back with Project Pepper, my 2002 Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet. The last time we were here, we were working on the blend doors on not only Pepper, but CK, my Turbo S. So if this is your first time joining Yogi's Garage, first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining. But be sure to get caught up on my previous video where I worked on the air conditioning systems on both of these cars. All right, so why are we here today? Well, I want to lower this car. I think it's too high and it's very pedestrian looking. This is clearly a base model Carrera, but I want to give it a more aggressive stance and a more aggressive rake that looks awesome, right? So right now it looks okay, it just looks kind of basic. And we're nearing the end of this project, so the last thing we're going to do is wrap. So I got to get the suspension and the stance right so that it looks perfect once I see it in its new color. All right, so speaking of color, I've made it no secret that I'm looking for your guys' input on what color I should go with. Now just keep in mind, Pepper is a pepper, so you're limited to about 3 colors: red, green, and yellow. I'm not gonna go with a paint, I'm going with a wrap like I said, so the color spectrum is pretty much endless, really. Yogi Mama and I are leaning towards the green, but again, we're not 100% sold on that either. Speaking of Yogi Mama wanted me to relay her gratitude and thanks to everyone who wished her well after I made the announcement last week that her cancer has returned. She's doing well, chemotherapy starts in a week, and then we'll see where everything ends up after the treatment. We're hoping for a cancer-free diagnosis again, but those of you folks out there who have gone through this type of treatment knows that it's forever. It's never completely gone. It always comes back. Okay, so thanks again. All right, so what are we gonna do today? We're gonna lower the car. If we have enough time, I wanna at least get the brake calipers off because I gotta redo the whole braking system. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna put new brake lines in. I'm gonna take the calipers off. I'm gonna strip them down, repaint them, rebuild them. The car's gonna get new rotors, which is also important. We're gonna flush the fluids. So all of that's gonna happen, and it may not happen all in this video, but we're for sure gonna knock out the suspension on Pepper. Speaking of suspension, if you followed along in a previous video, you know that this car already has new shocks. So I don't need to put coilovers on this car to lower it. I'm just gonna use the budget option, which is lowering springs. That's all I need for this car to get it lowered. We'll get some spacers on it if we think it's necessary and give it a really nice aggressive stance. Like CK, my Turbo. If you haven't been keeping up on my Turbo, be sure to check out that video series. We're approaching the end on Pepper, guys. We got a few more things to do, like I said, suspension and brakes, and then we get it wrapped. And then that's it. I drive around in it for a little bit, show everybody what I've done, and then maybe I'll sell it. So if you guys are interested in something like this, let me know. But for right now, let's get busy. Here we are, Project Pepper, lowering the suspension. Let's fix it. All right, this is what we're going with. H&R, I mean, they're classics, can't go wrong. I've used them on my Audi, and they're nice and blue. So blue's good. These are the rear springs, and then here are the front springs. Not much to it. I just gotta take the strut off from the top, take the cap off, the bump stops, and then replace the spring. So there's a few tools that you'll need to get this job done. You're gonna need a couple of these. You're gonna need a couple of spring compressors, at least, 2 per shock, in order to compress the spring so that you can get the cap off on the top. All right, so that's all you need. You need, of course, an impact wrench to get your wheels off, and I'll show you what else you need once we get moving. So I think I'm gonna be able to just drop the strut from the top with the jack and lower this whole thing enough to clear the bolts here, I'm hoping. And then I can just swing it out and compress the spring and get it out. What I want to do first is just line this up so I know exactly where they were before. More than likely this car is going to need another alignment, which I don't do. So I just want to make it obvious where this is going. Okay, nothing like a little crosshair bullseye. Like, this is going right here. All right, so first up is I gotta get the sway bar disconnected, and then the headlight leveling sensor. The sway bar will prevent it from coming down, I'm pretty sure. So let's go ahead and take this off. You got to counter hold it with a 17, and this nut is a 15. And they should not be that tight. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's out. Now I can just swing this out and put it back on. Now I can slide the jack in and put it right there to hold it before I lower it. It should not be that tight. So now what I'm hoping to see is that when I lower this, these bolts should start dropping. Yep, and here they go. Great. And I was really hoping it wouldn't be that difficult to get this strut out of here and then just replace the spring. This one was kind of challenging, I remember. There we go. Simply because it has see how it kind of curves, all right? I think our best bet is to take the caliper off. I mean, I'm rebuilding it anyway, right? It's already disconnected from the hub. So I'm just gonna swing it over and zip tie it up for now. But first thing I gotta do is I gotta get the brake pads off before I remove the caliper. I mean, maybe I don't know. But this is what I normally do. And there. Take this spring out. And then we can remove the brake wear sensors. There we go. Just pull out. All right. Now this gives you access to the pads. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There we go. See, these pads aren't bad. I can't completely make out the brand, but I think it's Miley. I didn't realize they made brake pads. All right, so there's this one. This one won't be going back in. And then this one, I like to use the screwdriver as leverage and just kind of get them out there. Plenty of meat, but these are not high performance. Nope, they're not. They're MIM. Who knows, man? Okay, to take the caliper off, you're gonna use a 10mm Allen head here and here. Okay, there's a lot of things that are gonna have to be done on this caliper before it goes back in. That's for sure. So basically, the spring compressor will lower the shock enough, and then you just put your weight down on it, push down enough to get the threads to clear this without scratching it. Getting it in is gonna be tough, but I think I'm gonna squish the spring even further in order to clear it. Okay, I did zip it loose. This one's just holding. Now you can see that the center is not spinning. No. Now let's just get this off. There's no tension, clearly, on this nut. Okay. There we go. This looks good. Put all of this back together. Keep it in one spot. Now we just take this spring out.
All right, so you can see the difference between the OEM, which is on the left, and the H&R that is on the right. I said earlier that those are the back springs, but I was wrong. Those are the front springs. That makes more sense. All the weight's in the back. And then you can see that it's, you know, 1.5 inches off. So yeah, this is great. Now I'm just gonna reverse everything and get it on there. All right, the next step is to get the cap back on. And there's a specific way. You can see that the coil comes in at the bottom and then hits the stop right here. And then on the top, it's the same exact thing. You want to get that part directly on there. And this is a bearing, so be careful with it. Mine is rebuilt, so it's kind of janky. And then just get it lined up like that. Yeah, there. All right. And then you put the cap on. Then it gives you, give my finger back. And then it gives you, you can see plenty of thread to get everything back together. Look at that. This is easy. Spring compressor again, obviously, because this is not going to go back there. And I'll just clamp it. Looks like I'm going to clamp it right here and just squish it down. Cool. All right. Let's do it. Okay, I've got it back on. I'm using 2 spring compressors so I can evenly compress it down so that I can get it past the fender. So let's see. See, there it is right there, right? But then I can see push, and there you go. It's in. Woo! Okay, not bad. And then I'm gonna line it up with the holes again. Jack it in there. Kind of hand tighten it, and then I'll loosen up the spring and line it all up. That sounds like a plan. What do you think? Okay. Now we're in. I can just hand tighten those in, get it set up, and then finish it up by taking this cap off. Woo! Coming together. All right, 27 Newton meters, or foot-pounds on these. Look at that. That's really good. All right, let's do this one right here. So to tighten the center nut properly and torquing it down to 59 foot-pounds requires a special tool like this. This one here I got from, I believe, FCP Euro. It's a 22 millimeter, but your mileage may vary. Be sure to check the size of the nut before you go and buy this. I've got a 24, a 21, and a 22. And that's mainly because I mismeasured. Well, actually, it's because the OEM strut was a 21, and then the Coney's were 22. So just a heads up. But the point is that this thing has a cutout here. So you sit that in there like that. You insert your torque wrench. But again, if you try to tighten it, you're going to see that that thing's moving down there. So that's what this is for. And that slides in right here. Now, I have this on my affiliates link as well as the Technic torque wrench. But your mileage, again, I keep saying this, but your mileage may vary. One guy who bought this told me it broke on him. I don't know how, but it did. But I've used this several times. This is going to be like the 3rd or 4th time I've done it. So let's go ahead and test it out again and see what happens. So you're just going to hold this and bring it in, and we're doing 59. See, I mean, that's easy. And I didn't break anything. And that's it. Now I need to put new witness marks on here, and this is not going to work for me. So we'll just clean off this paint with a little bit of brake cleaner. And it should come off with brake cleaner. What the hell? Let me try carb cleaner. I know it comes off with carb cleaner. There it goes. Look at that. Okay. To get witness marks off, folks, you got to use carb cleaner. I mean, it just takes it right off. Look at that. Now, I like to do a line across here and here just to verify these bolts aren't backing out, right? And the other one is capped, so I'm not going to worry about that. All right, so we're good here. Let's finish up the bottom. Okay, 40. And while we're down here, let's go ahead and reconnect the headlight sensor. This basically is a leveling sensor, so it doesn't do a whole lot. All right, there. Let's make sure that gets in there all the way. There we go. That's good. That'll hold. Okay, we are in place. Everything's torqued in and ready to go on this side. I'm not going to put the caliper back on, but I'm going to leave the rotor on because I'm going to put the wheel back on here in a minute once I finish this side. And what I want to do is lower the car so that you can see this guy down where it's going to be and then the other side of where it was. So next thing we're going to work on is the rear. I had the top up in the service position, but it's the next day and it looks like the top decided to go ahead and park it. So I'm going to have to raise the top up again a little bit to get to the strut towers up there. But first, let's get this tire off. My hat. All right, there. That should be fine. I may actually bring it a little bit further towards the front, but this should be okay. Untether it here. I probably got to get this carpet up a little bit to get to the towers. It's a little bit more work that has to be done here to get to your struts. All right, under here, you just got to pop loose. There it is right there. And see, now that gives you full access like that, and I can stick something up there to prop it. Let's get this out of here. Don't need it. I'll just... Guy's making me nervous. Like he's gonna fall again. See, here it comes. Stay right there, man. And... I think... Yeah, I'm better off right there. Okay. And I can pull the brakes. Start. Brakes or not. I have to disconnect anything that's attached to this caliper. That way it doesn't interfere with the lowering of this thing. Okay, so for the rear struts, you're better off just taking this thing out. So I'm gonna take it off from the hinge point right here. This is a 16, and then on the other side is an 18 counter. Okay. I did a lot of extra work, not necessary, but hey, I had to remember how to do all this. A couple of things. This control arm right here.
Hey, what's up? Sorry to interrupt your video, but I wanted to let you know that I'm actually editing that part of the video right now. And it's 12:30 in the morning. So, hey, would you do me a favor? Now that I have your attention, can you hit the subscribe button? Because I've been busting my butt making this video, and I hope you're getting something out of it. And all I ask is that you hit the subscribe if you're not a subscriber, or, okay, I'm sorry. Or if you could just hit that thumbs up for me. Okay, thanks. Back to the video. You only have to take it out if you did what I did and put the bolt in backwards. The bolt head should go in from the other side, and then the nut goes on this side. Otherwise, you're having to pull the bolt length all the way out, and this arm here interferes. So I had to use a pickle fork to get this thing to pop loose. So that was an extra step. So we'll put it on the workbench and we'll swap out the spring. Finally. So one of the things to note is that the tapered end, or the smaller spring end, goes on the platform down here, not at the top. So if you look at the new one, you can tell that it goes like this, top, bottom, just like that. So I want to get this cap off, but I got to compress this spring a little bit more to make it safe. Don't bend it, man. Just hold it in place. Don't go nuts. Let's speed things up. All right. Now there is an orientation for these struts, or at least they are in the front. There's some arrows indicating the direction, but this is a pretty good dead giveaway right there. Let's get them in the hinge. Actually, no. Let's get them here first. Okay.
Now that'll hold it in place until I can get this thing hinged back in, which is not a big deal. And here's the bolt. Here's the bolt right here. And again, you want to come in this way. Like this. Not like this, like I did, because then it's going to interfere with this control arm. Okay, let's do it. Okay. And this is why you use your legs to help get the jack up. Right. There we go. Like the whole freaking thing wants to move. Okay. Get in your home, man. You too good for your home?
Son of a bitch, Paul, why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home?
Yeah, no. Get in your home. Yes. Suck it. Suck it!
I think what this woman is trying to say here, Gus, is that you can suck it.
Suck it, John.
Suck it.
Boom. And that's where this nut goes. So that you never have to take that control arm off again. And you just need that extra inch. That's what she said. Okay. 27 foot-pounds. Okay. There. All in. All right, we're halfway done. Before I do the other side, I thought it would be kind of cool if I put the tires back on and lowered the car just to see an actual difference between this side and that side, and then we'll see it go like that, you know? I don't know. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe it's a bad idea. But first, what I want to do is get these calipers completely off. So I'm going to need to get something to catch the brake fluid. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Just take this nut off here and then disconnect the bracket from the caliper, and that sets the caliper free. And you can see it's leaking all my brake fluid. That's fine. It's getting a whole new setup. So now I can cut that caliper loose, get it on the bench, and take a look at it. It doesn't look too bad from what I can tell. It really just needs a painting, but I'm going to rebuild the whole thing. All right, the calipers are completely removed. I'm gonna get these wheels back on and nurse my wounds. You know, it happens when you're trying to loosen up stuff that's been sitting for 20 years. You tend to get banged up. Look at this. This is from, you see this yellow stuff here? That is from doing the blend doors on these cars. The cuts too, blend doors. Bad car, bad car. No issues. It's not touching the tire, but so you really can't even tell that it's one side is lower. I mean, I guess you can just a little bit. This side here is way higher than this side. And then you can see, yeah, that it could use some wheel spacers to give it a more aggressive stance. But I think this looks good. All right, so there you go. Not a big issue getting those springs on. Once you figure out the process then and streamline it, then you can just do the other side, no problem. And that's what I'm gonna do now. So I've showed you how to do the front and I've shown you how to do the rear. Now I'm gonna pause the camera, probably just put up a camera just for time lapse to show you that I am doing the other side. And then I'll lower it again and we'll take a look like when I'm done. And by the way, the brake rotors came in, so I may put those on too in this video. All right, here we go. All right, this concludes the lowering springs portion of the project. You can see it looks really good up there. Everything's bolted in, torqued in. You saw what I had to do. Pretty easy. If you stomp on it, push it down, you'll get enough clearance with a compression spring to clear this area. So we don't need this anymore, and we are good. So now that this is over, I'm ready to start working on the brakes. You saw me take off the brake caliper. All four of them are floating around here somewhere. Those got to get cleaned. But what I want to do now is I want to take off these rotors, starting with this one. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll show you what the old rotors look like compared to the new ones and why I'm swapping them out. It should be pretty obvious. So there's two screws in here that need to be loosened up. Now, this is a problem typically with older rotors that have been sitting on your car for a long time. These are more than likely gonna be stripped out or rusted out. They make a tool where it's a Phillips head and it's a hammer style. So you get it set and then you hammer the other end and it pops it, almost like an impact. I don't expect these here to be challenging. You can see they came right out. And why? Right there, yeah. So I don't know if you can see that, but if you can, anti-seize, right? I saved myself a headache by using anti-seize right in there, and that saved my bacon. Look at that. Came right off, and they're all like that, by the way, because I resprayed these hats. So these are the brakes that I'm taking off of Pepper, and they're not too bad, but they're bad enough. I mean, this is coming out really well in the video here, where you can just see the ribs. This should be smooth, and there is a lip right there. So this is the rear brake, and this is the front brake. Now, these are almost glazed. Not quite as bad as the rear ones, but definitely not great. Same thing here on the rear, ribbed and lipped, and then glazed, not to mention rusted. And I'm replacing them with this Hella Paget brake system. Highly recommended and inexpensive. I got them at Rock Auto. Yes, Rock Auto is awesome for Porsche parts when you don't feel like paying the Porsche tax. This is a rear, clearly. We can take a look at it. We can compare it to what the other one looks like. All right, so here's the difference. Pretty obvious. I mean, besides color, right? It's just rippled and look, nice and smooth, no lip. Okay, let's see what the fronts look like. So this is the driver's side. Looks great. No ripples, no glazing, no complaints. Okay, well, I think that's a really good place to stop for now. I got the suspension in, I've lowered it. I even showed you what it looks like, albeit on one side. I'll be doing the full reveal of the suspension as well as the brakes in the next video after I repaint and recondition the brake calipers. That's right. In the next video, I'm gonna tackle the brake calipers and we're gonna make this whole assembly look brand new. So with that, please like and subscribe. Like I said before, it's free to you, but it really helps the channel. It helps Yogi Mama, it helps Yogi. It's a pretty simple process. Just like and subscribe. All right, so we'll see you next time on Yogi's Garage.